you hold it on your shoulder. It is see that's why German women are warrior women. They hold a giant. Even cooking is war. so they hold the giant cube of
dough
of egg noodle dough, and then scrape off the noodles with some tool, and it flies a free feed across the room into the pot.
Oh, jeez.
Where they then boil.
Already sounds amazing.
Okay, let's talk about German women and cooking another time. Wisp, that sounds awesome. But
we're already live.
Let's get going. Good afternoon, everyone.
Damn you! Now I've revealed the secrets of Spätzle. Damn it.
Okay, sure. Welcome to Smudcast number 607. We need to have a conversation about your tone from Extra Punctuation. This is, of course, from Yahtzee.
No, we don't.
Well, he thinks we do, so we're going to do it. This came out 12 days ago, has almost 200,000 views, and seems to be rather popular. 10,000 upvotes, 331 downvotes. Good for him. Fantastic. Short video, only 7.5 minutes long, roughly speaking. I don't know what Kratos and Mr. Sonic the Hedgehog has anything to do with tone, but
You'll see.
Sonic 06.
That does come up, but he more so complains about Sonic Frontiers. Spoilers!
Oh, I thought we were watching extra credits.
Punctuation.
No. I mean, they've gone straight to shit too, so...
Yeah, well, I haven't watched one of his videos, like a review of a game, in a long, long time, so I'm sure it's just as biting and sarcastic as always, so that's...
After a while, like, all of those extra punctuation videos just blend into one giant blob of videos. Like, he just keeps repeating the same tropes that he used to. Like, it just can't make new jokes.
Is it AI generated now?
Well, I honestly think like he has been AI generating his videos for the past 10 years. Yes. He has been ahead of its time. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Anyway,
so you still haven't gotten the chat to work again?
Yeah, you know what? I tried a tutorial, it didn't work, and it was like a tutorial the past month, so maybe I'm doing something wrong. I tried another widget, which is an official chat widget for YouTube, and that didn't work either.
Have you tried just copying the URL? That if you pop out the chat?
That's the old way of doing it. That stopped working, so I was like, okay.
What? Seriously?
Yeah. I don't know what happened.
It worked for me last day.
Okay, I'll give it another shot because I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I honestly did not change anything. So
okay,
you must take the one from the stream, not from the dashboard thing.
Okay,
the dashboard thing has a different that's using a different URL that can't be captured.
Okay, well, no, it's not a big deal. We can still see chat. We don't need it plastered on the screen. We're not playing a game. It's okay, and we're going to read them all if we get super chat, so it's okay. So anyway, let's begin.
Games industry, your mother and I are worried. We need to have a conversation about your tone. And I'm not talking about that purple eyeshadow you've been wearing.
Oh, I thought he was going to lecture us, the players.
He kind of does that too.
He's attacking the games industry as a whole. Look at it. Okay.
I guess that's fine with all the activism going on that I think he agrees with.
Well,
but this is confusing.
It's a bit generic. I wouldn't want to attack all the indies.
To school. A lot of games with tone issues lately, so it's probably time to highlight the problem. What we mean by tone in this context is the narrative quality wherein the nuts and bolts of the presentation, i.e. visuals, audio, and dialogue, don't evoke emotions contrary to the ones intended by the story. It's why they didn't have Clint Eastwood wearing bunny ears in A Fistful of Dollars. But tonal disconnect in games is one of those things where, if I point it out in the review, the inevitable defenders in...
I mean, so far I would agree with him, especially with the God of War thing that just happened.
Sure, but you wouldn't say that the focus of these three formats for a story is to evoke emotion. That's kind of silly. You could you have a story about a guy talking about mathematical formula, and you'd be like, okay, that's a story.
Yeah, but the games like God of War or The Last of Us 2, they're supposed to evoke emotion. In us, they're mainly made to evoke emotion.
Which is boredom and nothing and wanting to kill yourself.
And then there's mediocre gameplay in between.
Rough. And its storytelling is one way of putting it.
Yeah. It's not a positive feeling. So most people would be like, oh, I can't take this crap. It's too depressing, honestly. It's like
but
this.
What did you feel when you played Death Stranding?
I actually haven't played that yet. I've heard it's decent.
I heard it was free on this
Yeah,
the what was it? Not the Steam store, the other store.
Xbox games?
The Unreal
Epic Games?
Epic Games, yeah, it was free like for a day.
Yeah, okay.
Oh. With that, I recommend Matthew Matos's review of that because he likens it to something absolutely insane.
Oh.
But I can't say much of the story.
Okay. Anyway, back to Tone.
In the comments, like, well, it didn't bother me. I don't care. And fair enough, it's not a mistake on the same level as the game controlling like dog shit or crashing to desktop every time the main character farts. It doesn't so much ruin the game as squander its potential. I want powerful emotional narrative experiences in games, and tonal clash is the kind of thing that can really let all the air out at the last moment.
Okay, this I have to disagree. You don't have to have powerful emotional reactions or experiences in a video game. You don't necessarily need that, and lots of stories which are excellent don't have that. So
I think
not to mention you can have multiple tones going at once. Like you can have moments of levity where it just slow down for a minute, have characters interact and joke with each other to show that they're actual people. Not everything has to be dark, depressing, and serious all the damn time.
Yeah, but to take himself in good faith. The reason God of War is a good example of this because it sets up these serious situations, serious moments, serious discussions, and then makes some offhand comment or something dismissive out of it. And it's this constant. It's part of millennial humor where nothing can ever come to a real conclusion. Nothing can ever be discussed seriously. It always has to be interrupted by some random thing that takes out the whole tension, as if the people who write this can't even stand the tension or can't write it to fruition.
You're right. We saw that.
The extreme version of that is what Rick and Morty does.
Absolutely. I was going to say I more contrive that to, or not contrive, point to that issue more on the lines of modern day writing. Modern Marvel movies also do this a lot, where take this phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Iron Man just going to town, tearing everything up. He doesn't stop to have some snarky comment or quippy one-liner. He's just tearing shit up. And then you jump into phase 2 and they're cracking one-liners while fighting.
I think the epitome of that was 4-3, where it was only quippy jokes, and so many of them that it just
started with phase
stale.
2, but it definitely had a lot more of a presence in phase 3. But I mean, that's not to say phase 1 didn't have its moments of humor to the point where, but those were moments of humor where they're not in an intense action. Like for example, when he's still trying to get the kinks out of the armor and that damn fire extinguisher keeps putting him out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's genuinely funny.
With the example we talked about with God of War, I said that every other conflict or scenario gets resolved 90 to 95% of the way through with another conflict introducing itself, and then we drop the old conflict and chase that one. And whenever the game doesn't do that, that's when you have like the memorable scenes like Freya, and she's telling Kratos, like after they kill the Nidhogg, that she's going to not kill him and not forgive him. Like those are the actual dramatic moments that you go, oh.
That was memorable?
Out of all the other things that just stop, like 95% of the way, they get dropped and then something else comes and takes its place. Yes, that was memorable.
I've tried to think of something memorable from God of War Ragnarok, and it's only really stupid moments.
Well,
like the cosmic giant appearing that he went on a whole side quest for, and then the Scooby Gang deciding, oh, we don't actually want him, like make him go away now because we don't want casualties, and then he stabs the house.
The plot scenarios or the plot points get reduced to drama or tragedy, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like what was memorable was the dump stuff and Heimdall.
And yeah, the jerk.
The one character with energy.
The one who's actually like pure evil and actually wants to kill your son and all this. It's like, yeah, that's all he does. That's all he wants. He can read your mind. He hates you. He's super fast. He's basically Hermes from the original God of War games.
3.
Yeah, he's basically the same character. So yeah.
Except that in the case of Hermes in 3, Kratos only ever spoke one damn line to him, and the rest was just pissed.
Like rips his legs off and steals his shoes.
Yeah.
Kratos didn't have to say anything else in that moment.
You gotta get that drip, you know.
Gotta get those Air Jordans.
Okay.
The J's.
I mean, to be fair, they are really nice shoes.
It's just wings on his boots.
Yeah,
That's
I
all they
know.
are.
It was hilarious. Like, he dies, all of a sudden the camera zooms out, and you look at his ankles. He's got little feathers on them. You're like, what is that? Oh, he's faster now.
The whole boost, yeah. And then the one locust that he swats on his fucking arm.
All right.
Case in point, Sonic Frontiers. Start the game and you step into a washed-out rainy landscape carpeted with realistic overgrown grass that blows aside to reveal the forgotten ruins of a once great civilization. Haunting music plays and we feel exposed in an atmosphere of loneliness and sorrow. And then, scene set, we take control of our blue cartoon mouse in sneakers with eyes the size of hubcaps. Sonic the Hedgehog has been the fucking emperor of tone issues for a long time now. It didn't start with him snogging a realistic human in Sonic 2000. That may have been the peak of the infection. Without doing any proper research, I might theorize that Shadow the Hedgehog was patient zero. Thing is, though, when I pointed out that it felt tonally inconsistent to put Sonic the Hedgehog in fucking Death Stranding, the Sonic fans in the comments, who I would call, in the nicest possible spirit, a unique breed, were all like, oh, I liked the theming. I think it's good that Sonic can have a much...
So he's talking about the theme of the level design and the style of art for the levels, like the realism.
Yes. And not to mention, he's taking a moment to bitch about the fact that his Sonic Frontiers video was negatively received, to say the least.
Right.
Oh, so there's like retaliation from him. Oh,
Pretty much.
oh God, Yahtzee, come on.
So it's just that they gave the game a realistic background instead of checkers.
A cartoony
hills.
one.
Yeah, so, yeah, and? Who cares?
It's like... Now, that's not really an objective fact. That's that's just a subjective opinion you have, that you prefer the more lighthearted, cartoony approach as to the more detailed approach of this game.
What planet is this on?
Good question.
Because there are a lot of places in the Sonic universe, as far as I remember. I'm not a big Sonic fan. I was a Nintendo kid, not a Sega kid. But there's lots of places, so there can be a place like this. So that's probably not the question here. His problem is that he thinks this doesn't fit together.
Well,
However, I would expect I could easily see a Mega Man X game in 3D that works like this. That is like Metroid.
They tried to do that. Don't even mention it.
This is a
wait, which one?
Talk about X7.
Yeah, X7 is.
This to
horrible.
me is the wrong argument.
There are 7.
Yes.
There's 8.
I only knew the first 3.
Okay.
The 8 is good. 8 is good though.
Okay, well, I think he's off the mark with the argument, because when you're talking about tone, I can think of games with horrible graphics, and as soon as a character appears on the screen in this horrible level of a city, and it's Planescape Torment and it's Anna, and you hear her theme play, and you go, oh, even though she has that weird Cockney accent that when she ever has voice lines, which are very rare, the music just comes across so much quicker as to deliver emotion and tone that the visuals are irrelevant. The visuals are like, okay.
Yeah, art style doesn't mean anything when it comes to the tone of a story.
Yeah, this is what I'm having a problem with, because we talk about color scheme and say, okay, it looks realistic. That's the setting. That's how the setting looks. But if you have this, like, look at the picture on the screen. This is a very realistic looking thing. If we had like a cutesy or a classic Sonic vibe, like song or music play, like level 1-1, and you got like whatever that 16-bit era music was in the Genesis, it would feel a lot different. If it was orchestral, if it was synth, if it was something a little more sophisticated, then it would be a different tone altogether. So using visuals to describe tone with realism is not really. I mean, I look at a forest. It looks like a forest. It's like, okay, it feels peaceful, feels large, looks like nature. Like, this is a good picture. I'm not like scared. It's not like I'm looking at Alien.
Personally, I don't see the tone issue here with this environment, with Sonic in this environment.
It's the
and
music.
The stuff in this environment.
It's the sound. It's the thing that, like, if I hear like a beeping noise, like, it's going to seem kind of annoying.
And old ruins is that's something that does fit to Sonic.
That's nothing new for
Sonic. It's literally like the first few levels
Sonic
in
game
Sonic.
has some kind of level in ancient ruins. The original was Labyrinth Zone. The second was, I think, what was the second one in its ruins?
I think in the first game, the
in
second
what
Marble
game?
Zone already.
Marble Zone, yeah.
Yeah, There was Marble Zone, Labyrinth Zone. I'm trying to remember the name of the kind of watery ruin in the second game, and then there was
Aquatic Ruin Zone.
Yeah, Aquatic
something
Ruin.
like that.
Imagine
Yeah,
this
this
was
is like nothing like
Sonic,
what Sonic 06 did with like that Italian city, surrounded by realistic people, where you have to interact with this cartoony hedgehog. Like this is like a far cry
I
from
can
that.
understand is that with Sonic 06 I can understand tonal issues, but this Sonic definitely blends into this environment pretty well.
Yeah, like imagine a 3D Mario game with this sort of environment. It would feel.
He does bring that up.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, I mean, Odyssey
Well, that's
did
basically
that,
what
a few years ago.
N64, what the N64 levels in part would have looked like had better graphics already been available.
Maybe. I'm not sure they would have done that style though. Anyway.
Well, Mario Odyssey does.
Oh, really?
That's that has very realistic environments.
I did not know that. Okay, I'll check it out.
I mean, there's a T-Rex in the first level, and you can take control of it just because.
Cool. All right. Well, let's go.
Sure, express a more complex. Look at them again, and then I hold out my hands and say, he's a fucking blue cartoon mouse in sneakers.
Yeah, well, you're like a British bloke in America. Like, what the fuck are you doing there?
Yeah, and you're a douchebag in a fedora.
I'm just like, it's like he's pulling out the "it's not real" argument. We're done.
It's like
that's how
in America who escaped from Australia.
Nobody talks like this in California.
It's like,
would you rather have him speak in the Californian
weird.
tongue?
Yes.
I'd really rather hate that.
Wait a
I
second.
actually hate that.
Isn't this the same argument you could say for the Sonic movies? It's just a cartoon CGI character.
For literally any video game ever, it's not real. Oh, big deal. It's not real. Who cares? It's fiction.
Okay. All right.
You don't get my point here. I don't think I can explain it to you. It's like having to explain why you shouldn't remake Children of Men with Clive Owen's character replaced with Mickey Mouse. I think Sonic's...
This kind of reminds me of like one time I saw like a Nostalgia Critic review of Treasure Planet, and the entire review of his was just like him like complaining that like, oh, why are they like flying with this like ancient environment and shit like that. He just didn't understand steampunk. That's where it all ended.
Futurism. Like, would you rather than be in red spandex on the Starship Enterprise? That would not match the story of Treasure Island.
Yeah, it wouldn't. There needs to be like a blend between these two different genres.
Not to mention the idea of sailing through space. That's just cool.
He just can't accept like this one idea that there's a cartoon hedgehog in a more realistic environment than he used to. Like, okay, like what about the story and like how he interacts with the world? It's more about like the question in at hand.
Okay.
Oh well.
I'm just baffled.
Problem is the fans, frankly. If you compare Sonic to his old sparring partner Mario, Mario's still going strong because Mario has been mostly tonally consistent. Couple of blips here and there, like when we first saw the realistic humans and dinosaurs in the Mario Odyssey trailer, but I think in execution they gelled surprisingly well with Mario's general magic drug trip vibe. Mario has always been aimed squarely at the kids and continually recreates itself for a new generation of kids. Sonic's problem is that it keeps trying to cling to established fans, as they've grown up and started seeking...
Isn't that the same thing?
I mean,
That's the same thing.
I can understand his point on that one. It's like you have an established fan base. You keep trying to grow your games up with them. Like Shadow the Hedgehog. Oh, my fan base is edgy 12-year-olds. Now I have to appeal to that. But at the same time, you still have to relate to who's actually buying the games.
Right, but let's say the Shadow is the exception because it's kind of a different tone in general to the Sonic games.
Yeah.
And Mario, but they're both for kids. They're both for guys who like playing games. Sonic is about speed and twitch scenarios and platforming, whereas Mario is more like a puzzle platforming adventure.
Sonic is about being cool. Everything about Sonic is supposed to be cool.
Yeah.
And that can jump around in from kid to teenage years. Mario deliberately stays on the lower end, on the ground.
Yeah.
In regards to what it is about, and that works fine.
Yeah.
With the Sonic world, like we've had relatively decent cartoons. The one with the not the one with the Sonic says at the end. There was this other one that I don't know the name, don't remember the name of. I only saw a few episodes as a kid, but there was this serious story in the world of Sonic the Hedgehog, and with the characters being actually being characters, and I would always wonder, like, look at these. This is a metropolis. There must be people there. You can do stuff with that.
That was Sonic Saturday morning. Sonic Sat AM. It's been dubbed.
Right, but the idea is that the genre of platformer that's cartoony, like I don't know, Sly Cooper, even the original God of War, like kids can play it and go, okay, I know what I'm doing. It's fun. It's colorful. Action's happening. There's some quick time events sometimes. There's lots of jumping. You collect objects. Like it's Ratchet and Clank. Like list all the platformers that are big. Spyro. Any kid can get behind that. So the audience, I would say, is pretty much the same. I think Sonic's a bit different because it has that action speed element that the other games don't have as much. So you go to a Sonic game for that speed, and that's the one selling point, I think.
When it went 3D, it feels like a more interactive racing game if done if played right.
Yeah, that's right. I think so too.
Not to mention, he was talking about Mario. We've seen the Mario franchise take on more serious stories. I mean, Super Paper Mario was about preventing a dark prophecy from killing everyone.
Super Mario RPG, the stars coming to save the destruction of the planet or whatever the heck it was. I can't remember. There's lots of Mario games and that are story-based and party-based and racing and all kinds. So it's not so much the genre, or actually, no, it is the genre, I would say, that's people are more cared about, because I don't really care about party games. I don't really care about racing games as much unless I'm playing with my niece and nephew. So it's just a brand. Like having this Sonic world or universe to have a Shadow game is like, yeah, go for it. See how that works. And it worked out. People loved it. So, but it's not for everyone. It's its own unique thing. So I don't see this problem that people can't play both and can't appreciate both. It's the same genre.
Yeah, maybe it diverts too much from his argument, because I think it's just a taste issue on his end that he's mistaking for a tone issue. But would he then not also have to take issue with the Kirby games having this really dark space horror undertone?
Yeah, every single Kirby game has some kind of eldritch horror secret boss you go after.
Not the first one, not Kirby Streamlab.
I would say Kirby is one of the cutesy version of an eldritch horror. If you could just consume anything, it's kind of
but every Kirby game after Kirby's Dream Land, which was the debut game, had that. The first one was just King Dedede was eating all the snacks.
Let's see. Somebody has stolen my cake. Off to kill God.
Yeah. By consuming him. All right.
More bit like dark, broody hedgehogs with guns and bats with their tits hanging out, instead of telling them to piss off out of little Timmy's playpen and go watch documentaries with the other.
Don't kink shame me.
This is what I hate so much. about these leftist idiots that they call everyone sexist, but even when a female character is completely covered up, if the character dares to have upper curves, it's the tits hanging out. Despite it being covered up, what the hell is your problem?
It is weird that a bat has titties, but at the same time, this is a game about a talking blue mouse.
These are
and
cartoon
sneakers.
Characters.
If a friggin' blue talking hedgehog can have sneakers, then a bat can be well endowed.
Yeah, just summarize it as it's Sonic.
Okay. Well, your problem because you're making an appeal to some biological bullshit here.
But
these are not just cartoon characters. These are also bats are also mammals. So if the bat is going to walk upright and becoming some humanoid thingy-magook, it might develop different curves like humans do.
Yeah, but if you look at the model,
like I said, don't kink shame me.
Yeah,
when you have problems with this, at least make it about the lizard argument.
Yeah, but look at if you just rewind. I'm not going to rewind it, but if you saw the actual clip he showed, her tits aren't really hanging out. She's, I guess, super deformed. I don't know what the term is. The art style with Sonic, but
the Sonic characters are all super deformed. Basically.
Yeah, it's nothing to like. Oh, she's sexy. It's like, no, she's really tiny.
It's anthropomorphism.
It's not a big deal.
Anyway. They're 2 to 3 heads high. At best.
It's not.
It's usually 2 at this point.
If you're getting aroused by a baby like proportions, I don't know. It's kind of weird. But anyway,
some people like the.
I know, but
yeah, it's called fetishes.
Yeah, they could fetishize over the grim dark tones of the story as well. But yeah, whatever you like, it doesn't make a difference.
But Shadow has a gun.
Grown-ups. Comment section, let's talk about something else. You see, one of the reasons video games in particular tend to struggle with tone is because, as well as keeping the visuals and sound and all that emotionally consistent with the story, they have the additional element of gameplay mechanics that can also affect the emotional canvas. They've got to worry about altogether.
Are you trying to tell me your controller scheme determines tone? I'd love to hear this argument.
Yeah, because it's clear that using the shoulder buttons to attack in Dark Souls clearly embodies the dark, depressing tone of whatever the hell is going on in Dark Souls.
Yeah,
I think he's confusing like tone with like the emotions the player will feel from playing the game, but it's like I hope I'm not correct.
Yeah, can you imagine like pressing the R2 trigger like to fire a gun is giving you the feeling of shooting someone for real or some nonsense? You're like, what do you do?
His problem was with the environment graphics style.
Yeah.
I just saw that. I love ruins for some reason. Like as a kid, I was big into archaeology.
Yeah.
And I just love this ruins aesthetic. And Sonic dashing at his high speed through high fidelity ruins that are an endless landscape. That sounds like a game I would like to play. That sounds cool.
Yeah, this is nothing new.
And it fits to Sonic, and it looks awesome.
Well, we're almost halfway done, so this is such a dumb video, so we're gonna keep going.
Now, narrative dissonance. And this is something that comes up a lot in
that's
cinematic games, like your standard AAA Ghost Train ride, that continue to tread the misguided path of trying to treat game storytelling like an unusually long movie, where you have to hold down buttons to keep the...
Yes, but you've only shown us so far an big levels where you run around. You haven't shown us any narrative.
Story-driven games are bad. ADHD, retard brain need pretty flashing colors. Shooty, bang, bang. I don't like story. Stop talking and let me get the pretty colors.
I haven't heard that his issue with that game is story so far. I only heard that his ludonarrative dissonance comes from the environment looking realistic.
That's not even...
What does that even mean?
Yeah, no. When we talk about ludonarrative dissonance, we're talking about things that you can't do, or technically you can't do in gameplay that you see happen in cutscenes, where one of them is called cutscene power to the max as an example of... We see that lots and lots of games where a character can do something in a cutscene that you can't do in gameplay, or when you do get them, they are nerfed and they do something extremely powerful in the cutscene. So there's very specific aspects of ludonarrative dissonance. You can't just say, oh, the cutscenes make me feel different than the way the gameplay feels. Of course they're going to. It's a completely different format when you change things from passive to interactive. So that's
kind of like fighting the final boss versus unlocking him as a playable character.
Well, in RPGs that happens, yeah, for sure. And to say that this is a thing is like, that's nothing new, but that's not a problem. It's when you do things in cutscenes that do not reflect gameplay that you should be able to do. That means you're lying to the audience. Like Superman can fly, right? He flies around in a cutscene, but because of the game, he just hovers on the map because we have no Z or we have no Y axis to move up and down when he should be able to. Like that would be a disconnect. So
like give a reason why he's not taking off into the sky.
Or smashing people into a million pieces or lasering them to death or whatever the reasoning is. That's what you have to do with Superman. So there's lots of those disconnects which are legit because you're like, okay, yeah, why can't I just do that? So he's just mentioning the fact, and I'm like, this is not a problem in these games, right? We see on the screen.
Wheels turning. Let's focus on God of War Ragnarok for relevance's sake, although the issue I'm about to highlight is very common to Ghost Train rides. In God of War Ragnarok, there is a fuckload of chatter dialogue. As Kratos and his entourage navigate the environment, they're constantly bantering about what they're doing and the last major plot development, or just whatever's on their mind, but they're also constantly being beset by random outbreaks of
You forgot to mention everything that's on the screen.
You mean when you're not in combat, the characters interact with each other to seem more like actual people rather than
They don't seem like actual
screen?
people. No, they don't seem like actual people.
Well, try to seem like actual people is a good way
yeah,
to put it.
The idea that these weird Californians have of what actual people are like.
Fair
which
enough,
is absolutely disjointed from reality. People do not constantly talk about whatever random shit all the time, and including pointing at, look, a rock, look, a piece of wood, look, another rock, look, a flower. It's obnoxious. It's insane. Like, how do these people even concentrate on what's ahead or don't fall off of walls because they're constantly distracted like ADHD people?
I do like when they focus more on the world building in their little banter dialogue, like Kratos talking about his brother or how he fought Medusa. Like that's actual relevance to his world, to the world building.
It all went to waste though.
Yeah, but that's like 2% of the dialogue.
I mean, it was also kind of funny when Mimir brought up his role in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
Oh,
not really. I found that very immersion breaking.
Yeah, but it's mildly amusing.
To you, maybe. Well, with everything else that's broken in that game already in the writing, putting that on top just tells me that they didn't take anything serious to begin with.
Yeah, well, this is sometimes to disconnect as a result of a disconnect between the story and the gameplay, but also sometimes to not hero worship, but make the character who's the player character come out more. And I remember, just because Mass Effect 2 I know so well, we have Jack when she breaks out of prison and she destroys like 2 Ymir mechs with her fists, and then she just gets reduced to a chick with a shotgun in her gameplay. And then the other one, the flip side of that is what's her face, Miranda. She says, I can break a Ymir mech with my mind with like 100 yards or disable it. Take your pick. And you're like, okay. And then you actually fight a Ymir mech, and she's just a chick with an SMG. And
what game was this?
Mass Effect 2. And they come against the Ymir mech for the first time, and oh my god, how are we going to do this? And then Jacob's like, we're toast. And Shepard, as the player character, destroys the Ymir mech, and Jacob's like, oh my god, that was amazing. So there's reasons to like that because it boosts up the player character, but there's also reasons to dislike that because it destroys the narrative in the process. So nothing stopping the writers from doing simple dialogue, saying I could help do stuff with my powers as opposed to insta-kill a Ymir mech in cutscenes. So these sorts of things can be done properly, and there's a disconnect between the writer's room and the game developers who are making this stuff. That's all that has to come. They bring the rooms closer together when they're building the levels in the game, and this problem won't occur anymore. So not bad. But the banter between this That's a lot of effort to do all that stuff constantly, every level.
It's a lot of effort, but the banter itself is horrible. It's too much about meaningless bullshit. And even in the combat, the NPCs don't shut the fuck up. It's like, imagine you're this actual warrior, and then there's 2 or 3 people also around you that constantly shout at you what you should do next.
There's a clip, there's a compilation clip.
You're on fire!
On YouTube.
I didn't notice!
Of like 5 or 6 YouTubers playing God of War Ragnarok, and like there's the Nidhogg fight. I don't know if you guys watched the Nidhogg fight, but Freya will not shut up. It's like, do this quickly, stun him. It's like we know what we're doing, Freya. We can play the game.
You just started that thing, especially because you start the boss fight, and one of the first things that you don't even have this thing down 5 or 10%. And one of the first lines she brings is, "It's still in the way." Really, we didn't even start hitting it. You fucking idiot, woman.
Yeah.
That also comes up in Horizon Forbidden West. Whenever you're fighting a big enemy with someone, they're constantly saying, "Have some ammo." It's like, I'm not using that weapon. So that ammo is worthless.
Yeah, there's lots of annoying. This is a new thing, though. I haven't seen this in other games before, so it must be the third-person cover shooter-ish style banter game where there's another character that's your companion who's invincible and won't shut up.
Try hitting it with your weapon.
Yeah, remember when
Parry that attack.
Elizabeth would just be
Don't get hit by that
and hand you ammo. That was it. That's all. She wouldn't say much, but
Yeah.
Have some money. Have some salt.
Yeah.
I found some ammo.
Right.
And she got out of the damn way, and you never had to protect her.
Right. Because she was invincible. So didn't matter. Okay.
Each time they enter one of on the ghost train. Kratos' severed head hetero life mate Mimir will be talking about the one time he tripped on his sporran and burnt the haggis, when suddenly a bunch of screaming murderers will jump down on the party from above. Then there's a hideously violent fight scene as Kratos brutally hacks them all to death while screaming and getting splattered in gore, and as the last one falls, the intense music fades and for a moment all is silent but for the shredded giblets dripping off the ceiling. And then Mimir goes, "So anyway, about that haggis." Then I have another of my Sonic the Hedgehog crazy pills moments. Again, if you don't see what
I could say that at least that is sort of fun, because Mimir is a god. He knows what's up. He just needs to wait. If it was more sane, you wouldn't interrupt as much during the fight. And I think he's at least a little bit more tonally helpful, maybe.
Isn't Mimir also supposed
saying,
to
"Hey,
be
there's someone coming from behind," because the camera is so shit. The game needs to tell you.
Yeah, he's voiced by Seth Armstrong.
Around him. Mark?
Nothing.
Well, he's a Scottish accented fellow, and I don't know if that's historically accurate with when.
That's because they made him actually Puck from Celtic mythology, who came over and is Mimir in the Norse.
Oh,
it's one of their things that they thought they were smart
weird.
about. Because he makes references to Midsummer Night's Dream that he lived through.
Cool.
What did I want to say? Oh, a counterexample to this battle banter would be a completely different combat system, but in Xenoblade Chronicles, whichever game it is, the characters in your party are basically just cheering each other on. So it's more of a tactical game because the auto attacks run automatically and you just position yourself and give commands for the special attacks and their combinations and doing the QTEs right to get some extra damage. You don't need to do the QTEs, you just get extra damage if you do them right. Thing is there, if somebody crits or fumbles, they will make a comment, or the other characters will make a comment. And that enhances the whole thing. That gives you it's a very light-hearted and happy atmosphere about that tries to keep the seriousness as well. But they're actually commenting on what's happening and not just this backseat. It's not backseat gaming as it is in God of War 3.
It lets you know, hey, one's coming on this end versus there's a guy on the ledge shooting arrows. Which ledge? Not going to tell you.
Oh yeah, they always announce
that would be something. That would be something actually helpful.
They do announce in certain parts of the game, like if you're with Thor and you're playing as Atreus, Thor will say, "Go kill those guys on the ledge with your bow," or Ymir or Mimir and the other guys you're with will say, "Look out from behind," because there's a wind-up attack from some guy you can't see because the camera sucks, and you have to dodge. So there's lots of parts that this banter is helpful for gameplay, but it's also to patch over problems with the design of the game. So it's
maybe they should have stuck with the more isometric combat style from 3.
Right. If they actually pulled the camera out, you can see what the hell you're doing and have actual dodges that work.
But even if you keep it as is, this banter, backseat gaming rather than banter, needs to be reduced massively because they comment on everything that's going on, every single instance. I don't need to be told 3 times in a row that I'm burning. I can see that. That's irrelevant. And what is also missing is the option to turn that off, or to have a slider that gives a percentage of how often it happens, because it's not about strategic things in general where, there's that enemy that appeared behind you from a new way, for example, that you're not aware of yet. That would be helpful, not just this telling there's an enemy coming trying to hit you. No, tell me there's this special type enemy that just appeared in you, or as said before, the archer on the ledge, because that's a priority target that has appeared that I may have not noticed. That's important. That's important information.
Or
that
maybe
tell
you when your enemies have certain elemental attributes to avoid.
Yeah. But generally the game it tells you all this useless information. That people will argue, well, it's all stuff that's actually happening, so it's not useless. Yeah, but it's too much. I can play the game without any of that. You could also tie this battle help to the difficulty level. Someone else had that idea, and even that would make more sense. But just give people the option to turn this bullshit off, because that's not playing a video game. If this is for actual lonely people who want to feel like they have backseat gamers around them, I don't know. Most people that I know that play video games are as annoyed as I am by this shit. I rather play in silence. Thank you.
Let's keep going.
And it works for.
I don't see why this comes across as ridiculous. Yeah. I can't explain it to you. Kratos just murdered like 7 fucking dudes in a desperate battle for his own survival. On top of that, Kratos' entire character in the 2 recent installments has been built around him trying to escape his past as a violent monster. These characters, in this context, should not be shrugging off a pitched battle to the death like it was a brief spot of heavy traffic that made them late for a meeting. This is the time for panting and sweating and proceeding cautiously in case any more attackers lie in wait, not haggis anecdotes.
There's one more thing I want to add to that, and that is Breath of the Wild.
About haggis?
Not about haggis.
God damn it, then no.
but in Breath of the Wild, you have tons of enemies around you that do random shit that also set you on fire, and you know what? Nobody's saying a thing, and that game is for children.
You can also screw around with the game's physics engine in ways I don't think they intended you to.
Yeah. That's another thing. In Breath of the Wild, you can be creative. In God of War Ragnarok, you can't. There is no interaction with the world, not even on the level of the Greek God of War games.
You're right.
So it's a regression in every sense.
It does feel like a downgrade, considering in God of War 3, you literally gouge out Poseidon's eyes, as well as rip off Helios' head, Hermes' legs. God of War 2018, I hacked up a zombie, and it's not working.
Snap Hera's neck, beat Hercules' face in.
All right.
Well, now it's let yourself be manipulated by a giantess woman to be recruited into her war by birthing her by giving her a son and then having to deal with that twerp all the time.
As with so many of the issues with over-moneyed AAA games, this one stems from trying to be too many things at once. It wants to tell its story, but at the same time it wants to be a 60-hour extravaganza of gameplay and set pieces. As such, the plot of God of War Ragnarok is an absurdly badly paced one, with hours of padded-out gameplay between every significant story update, and because the intention is to be a story-based experience, inane chatter is used to string those moments together, with a flimsy breadcrumb trail of debates, asides, and post-match commentaries. But that obligation is forced to exist in the same space as the equivalent obligation to sprinkle in generic combat every other step, because we are still, after all, a video game. The use of combat as an all-purpose recurring gameplay challenge has always caused tone issues in any game where the protagonist isn't supposed to be a GTA or Doom 2016 style violent psychopath.
Why are you using Uncharted as an example of this? That's an action-based third-person shooter that's made to be as much like a movie as it possibly can be.
Yeah, like watching
the tone of Uncharted is not to be that serious.
Oh,
it's
actually,
so they are
he
going to
had
be
like a
making
defense for this.
comments and gunning down enemies left and right nonchalantly. It's not meant to be as serious.
Well, he had a defense for this like a couple of years ago, I believe. He said the excuse is that the person who edits the videos for these segments, like basically not the normal extra punctuation videos, is someone else, so it's not him. So like these are not his thoughts, and he doesn't double check them. He just like says words. Someone makes a video for it, and that's it.
That's not a defense. That's a criticism.
I know, but that's the excuse he's got to throw at it.
It's like you don't proofread your script.
Well, he reads it, and then like someone else edits a video for it.
It's very stream of consciousness.
That's a bad. Using Uncharted as a bad example. That's supposed to play out like an action movie, where it's like you have the cheesy, like the first game, you have the asshole rival archaeologist who's your main antagonist. The second game, you have the over-the-top warlord. The third game, you have Scary Poppins.
I can instantly believe that this is supposed to be just a cheesy action movie because that table is bulletproof.
Exactly. It's supposed to be a cheesy action setting.
Yeah, it's like watching Romancing the Stone or one of those 80s flicks that were action adventure and little shades of romance and a little bit of mystery in there. So there's all kinds of those. Like even what is the cross? It's a cross between Indiana Jones meets Lara Croft, or I'm trying to remember what how they pitched Uncharted to be, but it was basically like watching an 80s flick. So
yeah, it was like Indiana Jones meets Lara Croft, which ironically enough, the Tomb Raider reboot would try to play more like Uncharted.
Yeah,
and it sucked because of it.
Actually, I quite like the Tomb Raider reboots because it is a more serious story, although another third game notwithstanding.
Right.
I wasn't a fan of Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Okay, let's keep going.
Violent side. It's one thing the Last of Us games have over their spiritual predecessors, the Uncharted series. At least The Last of Us 2 is consistently miserable. The quippy, swashbuckling adventure tone of the Uncharted games always felt off when combined with the literal hundreds of jobbing mercenaries Nathan Drake mercilessly guns down in pursuit of the treasures. The tendency...
Cheesy action setting.
Yeah, this is every 80s or even 70s flicks that are action-oriented or sci-fi.
Even some 90s flicks were like this.
This is normal. This is we
it's
accept
a cheesy action setting.
Yeah, this is
intentionally.
This is every game, in fact, where you have a bunch of mooks you have to kill to get to your goal. So it doesn't really matter if it's.
Oh, and what he's saying is bullshit because in the second game, Lazarevich flat out calls Nathan Drake out on it. Flat out says, "You and I are not that so different. You kill anyone who gets in your way."
Ah.
So you still have some intelligence. I guess that's the right way to put it, to its writing. It's still smart about it.
I've never played the Uncharted games, so I
would recommend them. They are fun.
Yeah, but I have a question about that. How much are these games how Tomb Raider should still be?
That's a good question.
Like Lara is not about the run through it like a soldier.
Laura
But
was
it has-
always
but the
more
game
along
has-
the lines of, "You're in my way. I'm not gonna die here."
But it has badass action, and not just whiny. I'm a girl now that lost 3 cup sizes, so I can be more whiny.
Okay. Anyway, 2 more minutes. We're almost done.
That is definitely the third game in a nutshell.
Uh,
The first one is meant to be more of a soft reboot. This is her first major outing, so the fear is believable.
well,
The third one, it's like, oh my god, Laura, shut up for a minute.
Well, we went from tone, visual effects of tone to we just killed a bunch of dudes in a video game, which is supposed to be a cheesy action flick, and we're supposed to feel weird about that for no reason. I don't understand.
A better one to bring that up in would be the Far Cry series, but even with starting with Far Cry 3, they still bring calling out your actions
Right.
into the narrative. The
Yeah.
third game, you have the option to embrace the psychopathic killer you've become or live with the regret. Fourth one's about the consequences of choice. The fifth game is
Religious. Well, okay. Every game is slightly different with tone and setting, and who's the crazy dictator dude of the island or whatever.
like, who's the actual monster here?
Yeah, it's kind of cool, and I think that plays into the base building element. And what are you doing? Are you making an army? Are you just killing everyone? Like, what are you doing? So Far Cry has that sort of let's play with the idea a little bit, but it's still an action game has a story and fun
You
elements.
still have random assholes you got to kill because they're in your way.
Yeah, pretty much, and that's just people accept in the game. This is there are times when the tone and like, oh, we just slaughtered a bunch of dudes doesn't make sense, but it's not that big a deal, and we just sort of see it as, well, they're the enemy. And
I think this guy played Spec Up the Lines one time and expects every action game to play exactly like Spec Ops the Line.
one game tries to change things, and every game should do this now. If Ryan Johnson made every video game, oh no.
I have never played Spec Up the Line. I hear it's a good story, but
It's fine. It's cool set pieces, and there's really funny.
like, it's cool that the game calls out the player on you
Sure.
could have stopped at any time. It's a deconstruction of the cheesy action war hero.
Right. Just the character, not the literal character, but the idea of the character, yeah. Okay. So we are sort of jumping the rail here with what he's trying to get at, but I understand what he's trying to say.
At this point is to shrug and accept all this as an inevitability of the format, but that needn't be the case. It just requires a little more consideration of how gameplay enforces tone. Did Nathan Drake have to kill everyone stone dead, or could we have based the combat around knocking people out with righteous fisticuffs and cleverly positioned?
They're trying to
When
kill
they are
him.
trying to kill you with guns,
They
yes, you have to shoot
they
back.
literally started. They are the ones that started the fight. Not to mention, Nathan Drake is a criminal. His expeditions are less than legal.
So he's the bad guy.
He is the bad guy. Yeah, he's
Kind of. I mean, they literally make a joke about that in the first game. Shouldn't we call the authorities? No, we don't exactly have the permits to be out here, and you don't want to. And I'd rather not go to a Panamanian jail.
Yeah, this is
And these
basically
pirates are not the type to take male prisoners.
he's basically
Well,
a
what's
thief.
worse, the pirates or the Panamanian jail? Have you ever been in a Panamanian jail?
Right, and he's an international, not a terrorist, but he's international. Like, you're not allowed to.
He's
be
a
here.
thief.
Yeah, he's a thief, and he doesn't have authority to be there. He's stealing their whatever relics or whatever you want to call that, as
The
opposed,
MacGuffins.
yeah, as opposed to like Indiana Jones, who wants to preserve, like he wants to preserve the objects he finds. I think Lara Croft wants to sell them. I don't know what Lara Croft wants to do exactly.
Doesn't she
Honestly,
just
I never
put them
really
up in a mansion?
understood. Yeah, pretty much. I never really got Lara Croft's angle on things. I know
Yeah.
she's a linguist,
Right.
but I never really got her angle on wanting to go on these expeditions other than just find the thing.
Right. So the idea of shooting back is like, well, I shouldn't be here. That's true, but this is my job. So,
But can't we talk things out
They're terrorists.
and have
That's
world
the second
peace?
game. I think that's the second game he's showing
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Those are literally terrorists under the authority of an evil psychopathic warlord.
yeah, there are times in games, and I will say this about Mass Effect just because I know, that were designed to be stealth. And if you're going to do that, you should have the opportunity to give the player non-lethal takedowns. And we saw that from Deus Ex, that you can play the entire game non-lethally. There's a series of weapons you can use. They're very, very specific.
The gap gun.
The stun, the trank sniper rifle, I think was whatever it's called. So there are certain styles of level design and scenarios that it felt like, oh, I can sneak past here, but it's not a sneaking game, so you can't actually do that properly.
The second Watch Dogs you can play completely non-lethal if you really want to, because you can just go with a stun gun and a yo-yo, because apparently you're not allowed to have a baton in California.
Right, whereas games like Metal Gear Solid, where they pretty much say, okay, yeah, you should play it stealth to get through this level, or they're going to get swarmed until you play the fourth game, and it's all war.
Chat asked, which is the best Uncharted game?
I would say a lot of people would say the second one. I personally prefer A Thief's End, the fourth game, because the gameplay is the most refined and there's actual proper stealth elements.
Cool. I just love the intro.
There's also no supernatural bullshit going on. They're just asshole mercenaries.
Good point. Yeah, it's a fair point. The lack of fantasy is always a nice touch. But yeah, no, we have these genres for a reason. We are paying homage to the 70s and 80s action flick, and if you don't appreciate that, then you've got some problems. There are some games where it feels like it would make sense to have non-lethal takedowns and level design, but they don't do it. So it's like, oh well, missed opportunity. It's fine.
Uncharted is not a stealth game.
Right. Okay. Anyway, middle left.
Chandeliers, leaving them to shake their fists. The interactive medium rather than the traditional filmic approach. Design games like Hard Space Shipbreaker or This War of Mine, where the basic nuts and bolts of the player's tasks create the intended tone directly. You know, it's possible there's always going to...
That is so completely different from what you're talking about.
Those are different.
Like he's just bringing up random games.
Yes, because this game that I like has this tone. All games should be like this. That would make gaming really fucking boring.
Why doesn't this genre have this element in another genre? It's like, that's because it's a different genre, buddy.
Completely different games.
I remember that video on what are genres. Of Mine gets I wonder if this guy had any part in writing that one.
And this War of Mine does not just get its atmosphere from the story itself, but from it not being some linear tunnel like God of War, but one where, as he says, you make the choices. And it gets this weight because you then need to live with the consequences of your choices. It's a completely different way of writing a game. I don't think you can even compare these things.
Yeah, like the nature of the Thief series, which is stealth and action-adventure platforming, you get points for being stealthy and not killing and taking as much stuff as you can. Once you start fighting, you're not very good at it, and that's not how you want to win. That's not how you win, because you're a thief. You're not a warrior. So, like, you wouldn't say, hey, this is boring. If only you had a machine gun, it would be a lot more fun.
Dishonored is similar to that, where you can go in guns blazing, but it's a bad idea. The main focus of that is on stealth and only killing who gets in your way.
Yeah, that's why
killing the main target.
That's why we look at games that can do both as sort of the rule breaking concept, like with Deus Ex, where you can go in stealth, you can go in as a hacker who could hack turrets to kill people, or you can go in guns blazing. So, but even then, you're still going a combination of all those three. When you can, because it makes your life easier, and you don't want to have to waste bullets. You want to save inventory space, and all those elements of using like the actual air ducts to get to where you go, as opposed to going.
Yeah, but that's also what makes Deus Ex a more to the core, a more like a role-playing game.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you completely define how you play and not just different types of how do I kill enemy.
How do you get around problem as opposed to I have to kill everyone because I have the bullets for it. So
do I use a sword or a spear? That's that's not role playing, sorry. But Deus Ex offers you these completely different paths that lead to completely different gameplay and allows you different decisions that lead to different outcomes.
Once you see
that's what that is about.
You could pick up a turret and walk with it while it blows away. Like that was awesome. I was like, oh, I could do that? Like that's great.
Yeah, and I would not compare games like that leave you this choice and the consequences of it to a story on rails.
Yeah, because you're designing the game to be this multi-path, multi-variable gameplay choice machine, as opposed to God of War, which is just linear. So, like, does he want every game to be extremely brilliant, like Alpha Protocol, and take months and months to build one level and then refine that and just every game just be this Deus Ex experience? I don't think so. There's nothing
Again,
wrong
that
with...
would make gaming really boring really fast.
Well, it would make it very complicated and games would take a while. Like they would have to spend we'd be spending like $120 on a game because it takes so long to come out and how much work put into it. So games have a purpose. They have a design. There's nothing wrong with a linear experience. It's why do you want to play that? Is there something worthwhile behind the game outside of, what is it, Final Fantasy 12 that just kept... No, Final Fantasy 13. What the hell was it? The one with lightning. It was 14.
13.
13.
Yeah.
All three of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the problem is not... Is chat is a bit confused. The problem is not linearity. The problem with God of War is that its writing is sniffing its own farts all the time. And I think it's doing something similar to Michael Bay's explosion addiction. Because as it keeps going on with this bullshit and doesn't let you breathe, you don't have time to think about and realize that the writing is absolute nonsense. I think that's the issue. Completely babbles it constantly babbles at you so that you don't have time to process that it's all bullshit.
That's a whole other argument with writing, yeah. So he's trying to talk about tone. It's just this weird genre issue, and I'm like, dude, you're missing the mark. Anyway, we got a minute left. He's probably gonna have like only 20 seconds left, but let's find out.
Always go potential tone problems in video games just because a player has to be in control. If they want to do roly-polies through a harrowing death scene and teabag the grieving widow at the funeral, you can't stop them. But then again, if the player wants a narrative experience and is sufficiently immersed, then they'll usually be happy to play along. At least I am. Half-Life 2 lets you retain complete control throughout its dialogue scenes, and I'd always try to be a good sport, standing in what seemed like a logical place for Gordon Freeman to stand and nodding the mouse up and down to on the first playthrough onto Dr. Kleiner's head because I'm only fucking human.
Oh, jeez. All right.
I still don't get his problem with the Sonic game. Which seemed to be his
I completely
initial
forgot
one.
that Sonic game wasn't in this video.
Yeah, but that was his opening point, and I don't see the connection to any of the other shit he brought up.
You seriously, like, you complain about the tone of action games because they have action set pieces. Shouldn't that be the perfect example of what to do to stay consistent to your tone? Since, the Uncharted series is meant to emulate cheesy action movies.
Yeah.
That's the perfect tonal consistency.
What is?
Yeah.
What is this? What is?
Oh,
this?
it's a double bind.
Okay, wait.
You can't. You what is it? You're doomed if you do. You're doomed if you don't.
What?
So if the tonal if he sees tonal inconsistency, it's bad. But if there is tonal consistency, it's also bad.
All right. Well, we're on Streamlabs now, guys, and I don't know who wrote this article.
Yeah, one meme.
Then don't mix them up with the God of War stream memes.
I don't know what this was. This came out. What?
No, today we only just got one.
Okay, well, I'm going back to the 23rd. I haven't seen this channel, so let me just scroll.
Leave
down.
them for when leave them for when we finish that shit.
Yeah,
Alright.
the God of War memes are for God of War.
Yeah,
I don't see
There
a
it
meme
is.
for
We only have
today.
one.
except the one for today.
Oh.
Why are you looking at me like that? And it's because Freya has a.
It's the QTE to kill her.
She does not look like she does in the game.
Yeah, she looks better.
Yeah. In the game, she looks horrible.
The Atreus one.
Trace is
It
like,
looks like-
yes.
Looks like
Yes, do
No,
it.
Like
Do it.
Kratos getting progressively irritated, like, I will snap your fucking
Atreus,
neck.
Atreus looks like the damn statue, the Elegy of Emptiness statue from Majora's Mask.
Oh yeah, you're right. It looks very
Actually, look
similar
at his
to that.
face, kind of like, do it. Fucking do it. I want to watch.
Yes, please. Insane bitch.
I guess we're going to have to wait for those other stream memes.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to take a few days for break because that's what we normally do, even though we took our break on Monday because it was Christmas prior. So we're coming back on Friday with the EFAP stream, hopefully, if we could all get our schedules aligned. And hopefully we're all here for that. And yeah, it's going to be finishing off, hopefully, the rest of that video, unless it'll take longer. We'll do a third one, of course. But yeah, thanks, guys. That was a quick little video. Yahtzee is just becoming our new punching bag, isn't he? We ran.
makes it
It's a very easy one.
Yeah, we ran out of Maggie May Fish videos, and now we're just using Yahtzee. So
I never thought this would happen 10 years ago.
I know. 10 years ago, even longer, I thought he was pretty good. He was pretty funny and quippy and fast.
Damn, he moved to California.
That steak
Worse than the
poisons
nukes in
mind.
Fallout.
Well, maybe not that bad, but anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Have a happy post Boxing Day celebration. I don't know what you guys are up to this week, but take it easy, keep warm. My God, it's freezing here in North America. So the storm has been coming through all of parts of North America, and people have been stranded without power. Try and stay warm. Take it easy, and keep cool or keep warm and cool. Don't overdo it on the heat because
Gotta go fast.
these people are telling you not to spend too much money on your gas bill. It's like, you're right, and they're telling us there'll be brownouts. Like, holy shit, really? So
I hope y'all got a wood burning stove or a fireplace to keep warm.
yeah, that's a good idea. Wow, what a great idea. Move up north where it's colder. Get some fire going. Anyway,
I live in the south and I've got a wood burning stove.
oh, that's also cool, or hot rather. Anyway, thank you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great evening. Bye bye.
Bye. Have a wonderful time.